See, we make a mistake when we say that's racist. We have to understand what's racial. And racial is not conservative whites and liberal whites. Because I've had experience with the racial dynamics from white liberals. Well, there's an expectation how you need to carry yourself. There's an expectation. They want us to reduce who we are. What Clarence Hill was saying to Jamel Hill was, Shedeur Sanders is a millionaire. Shedeur Sanders was making $4 or $5 million with NIL deals in college. Shedeur Sanders is not walking into the room with a broke daddy and who's in prison and a mama who's on welfare and he's Shedeur Sanders ain't walking up to a head coach like Michael Irvin did when he called Tom Landry my new daddy.
The NFL didn't merely overlook Shedeur Sanders. They attempted to bring him down a notch. It's not about his throwing ability or his understanding of defenses. It's the way he enters a room with an undeniable presence, as if he's always been part of it, never seeking approval. The league often struggles to handle a black quarterback who stands firm in his identity and refuses to conform to the comfort levels of executives. Before diving into that, let's take a moment to discuss what was really said about him off the record. It's crucial to grasp that this goes beyond mere arm strength or draft rankings. You absolutely have to check out the double standard that's been lurking right in front of us for years. Once you start connecting the dots, the whole draft discussion takes on a whole new perspective. As Shedeur Sanders waited for his name to be announced, the chatter began to swirl. Some said he was too flashy, too cocky, and overconfident. Just the same old story we've seen play out time and again. Some analysts have even claimed that it's not racist. Sure, it might not be overt racism, but that doesn't imply it's free from racial undertones. That distinction could be crucial in grasping why Shedeur's confidence overshadowed his actual performance in discussions. Let's take a moment to pause and reflect. Shedeur doesn't fit the typical underdog narrative that the NFL often promotes. He's Deion Sanders' son. He raked in millions without even stepping on the field for a pro snap. He arrives looking sharp, strategic, well-prepared for the spotlight, and with a solid financial foundation. He strides into interviews with confidence, not just thankful to be there. He strides in, ready to take charge. For certain individuals, that expectation can feel intimidating. When a white quarterback displays that same intensity, it's referred to as leadership. It's all about that swagger. That's what we call competitive fire. But when Shedeur pulls it off, all of a sudden, it's seen as attitude. It just keeps getting worse. We've witnessed quarterbacks such as Baker Mayfield make bold statements and stir up some drama, and that was promoted as charm. We saw Johnny Manziel living it up in the spotlight and still snagging that first-round pass. Eli Manning turned down the chance to play for the team that picked him, and it was portrayed as a strategic move. What makes Shedeur's confidence a weakness in his character? That's the tough question to tackle. One analyst didn't hold back. The league isn't accustomed to a privileged black quarterback who doesn't rely on football for salvation. A quarterback stepping onto the field, not with a mindset of just surviving, but with a mindset of total domination. That's the moment when we transition from discussing talent to focusing on control. Just before the most eye-opening point dropped in that conversation, there was a moment of silence, a moment of clarity. The problem wasn't about mechanics or watching tape. It wasn't about accuracy or anticipation either. It was a presentation. When comparisons began to surface regarding players like John Elway using baseball to manipulate his draft standing, or how Colin Kaepernick crossed an unseen boundary and faced the consequences, a more profound pattern began to emerge. The true unease isn't about being arrogant. It's a quarterback from a privileged background who stands tall and won't back down. Once you embrace that idea, your questions begin to shift. What makes Shedeur's confidence seem intimidating? What is it about his brand awareness that puts executives on edge? Why do we feel the need to teach him a lesson rather than appreciating what he contributes? Historically, the quarterback position has been the most politically charged role in sports. It's the embodiment of the team, the brand representative, the reliable option. Shedeur feels like it can't be controlled. He feels completely self-sufficient. He doesn't come across as someone who relies on the system more than the system relies on him. That changes the balance of power. Leverage can create a sense of discomfort for many individuals. The NFL remains under the control of 32 billionaires who predominantly hold traditional views on leadership. A young black quarterback stepping onto the field with empowerment, polish, and confidence shakes up the established order. Bill Roland broke it down in the $40 million Slave. The NFL really operates like a plantation, with its entire structure resembling that of a plantation system. It's tough for these 32 billionaires, with only one exception being a non-white man, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's somewhat challenging to embrace a highly self-assured black man. Listen up. Shedeur just doesn't have the same talent as his dad. They couldn't overlook the talent that ran in his family. Dion shares a story from his combine experience when a team expressed interest in interviewing him. He responded with, "What's your draft pick?" They replied, 12 or 15. Dion exclaimed, "Oh hell, I ain't talking to y'all. I ain't even going to be around that long." This reflects the NFL's stance of, we need to teach him a lesson. Let's dive deeper into that double standard. When Bo Jackson made the decision to tell the team not to draft him, it was a daring move. Eli's exit from San Diego was a calculated move. When Baker yelled at his teammates, it was all about the passion. Yet, when Shedeur exudes a level of confidence that's built on preparation and past achievements, it raises eyebrows. It's not just about arm talent, it's all about how we see things. Perception is the playground for bias. Not always boisterous, not always direct, but nuanced in delivery. In the way we discuss culture fit in private conversations, teams often believe they're safeguarding the harmony of the locker room.
They claim humility is necessary, but humility by whose standards? Confidence isn't a sign of being uncoachable. Confidence doesn't equate to self-centeredness. Shedeur is known for being meticulous, a film junkie, detail-oriented, and highly competitive. He took programs to the next level. He absorbed blows from unstable offensive lines and continued to deliver passes. Wherever he went, he drew national attention. The output is solid. The determination is evident. The leadership is present. Still, the story continues to circle back to character. That says it all. Here's another important aspect to consider. Shedeur was raised on Prime's content. Deion Sanders never waited for anyone's approval to dazzle. He was bold, extravagant, unapologetic, and undeniably top tier. That DNA sticks around. Shedeur is exuding genuine confidence. He grew up immersed in it. It was never realistic to expect him to walk into draft meetings feeling timid. Picture yourself as a general manager. You're considering the potential downsides. You're considering optics. You're considering how ownership might respond if the start is sluggish. It's simpler to go for the safe pick and point fingers at development down the line than to choose the confident player and stand by him in the spotlight. That's just how people are. Championships are forged in the fire of discomfort. They stand firm on their beliefs. And here's the twist. The very league that doubts his attitude will be the first to applaud him once he starts racking up victories. Confidence sparks debate until it leads to wins. Next up is leadership. Then it's ready for the market. Then it's all about that moxie. This pattern keeps repeating itself time and again. Don't forget about the business aspect that often gets overlooked. Shedeur gets branding like a pro. He gets what it takes to keep people hooked. He knows how to engage with a younger crowd. In the current NFL landscape, that's significant. If a franchise decided to skip over him due to discomfort with his demeanor, they didn't just overlook talent, they also missed out on relevance. We can't overlook how stories change over time. A draft slide transforms into inspiration. A perceived slight turns into a lasting motivation. The most formidable version of Shedeur Sanders is the one fueled by doubt. Every overly confident headline turns into motivation. Every time I hear comparisons to other quarterbacks, it just fuels my drive. At that level, competitors keep track of any disrespect shown. It gets stored away. They turn it into a weapon. This isn't about ensuring victory. The NFL is unforgiving. Talent needs to be put into action. He still needs to secure that victory. Here's my daring prediction. In just 3 years, the conversation around Shedeur won't be about whether he was overdrafted or underdrafted. We're diving into the discussion about which team might be kicking themselves for not having faith in him. Because when you mix skill, composure, and a chip on your shoulder, you've got a recipe for danger. Was the draft slide focused on football, or was it more about comfort? Those are definitely two distinct discussions. The league definitely got it wrong when it came to comfort. If they were attempting to manage his confidence, they might have ended up causing their own issue. Here's a quick rundown. The story surrounding Shedeur wasn't focused on interceptions or footwork. It was constructed on perception, on hidden meanings, on the vibes he picks up in a space. History demonstrates that when confident black quarterbacks are overly labeled, it often reflects more on the environment than on the individual player. In just 2 seasons, I foresee the same analysts who are currently questioning his demeanor singing praises for his poise. The very executives who aim to bring him down will soon be hailing him as a franchise cornerstone. Because when talent meets belief, the result is nothing short of explosive. And Shedeur Sanders possesses both in abundance. I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Do you believe teams assessed him solely based on his football skills, or were there more complex factors involved? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, because this discussion is just getting started and isn't fading away anytime soon. And if you're still here, let's dive even deeper, because the Shedeur Sanders discussion goes beyond just one draft night. It's all about the type of quarterback the NFL will be ready to support in 2026 and the years that follow. It's all about the image, the power, the branding, and who gets to shape the definition of leadership at the most crucial position in sports. Consider the way the quarterback position has been portrayed throughout history. For years, it was known as the position for the cerebral player, the one who commands the field. Bio. For an extended period, the league quietly promoted one prototype as the standard representation of that position. The prototype is definitely evolving. Absolutely. We've witnessed dynamic, athletic, and confident black quarterbacks dominate the league and redefine the expectations. Even though the prototype is changing, it doesn't mean that all biases vanished in an instant. Shedeur Sanders marks a fresh chapter in that evolution. More than just skilled, more than just agile, more than just appealing, but ready to take charge even before putting pen to paper on an NFL deal. That's unique. He's entering the building with a solid financial footing. He doesn't need a signing bonus to prove his value. No cash altered the game. Shedeur really capitalized on that change. He stepped into the draft process as a brand, a business, and fully in charge of his own story. And that shifts the leverage, because the NFL has always excelled at leveraging opportunities. Rookie contracts come with predetermined slots. Franchise tags are a real thing. Team control is integrated into the framework. The league is designed to keep control firmly in the hands of ownership offices. When a quarterback steps onto the scene with media savvy and financial security, the power dynamic shifts to a more balanced playing field. For certain executives, this might come across as a loss of control. Let's get straight to the point. No general manager is going to admit, "We passed because he's too confident." Instead, they'll highlight mechanics, scheme fit, and intangibles. However, it's in the intangibles that the real interpretation unfolds. Interpretation is shaped by how comfortable we feel. If Shedeur speaks confidently in a meeting, is that a sign of leadership or just arrogance? When he discusses creating a legacy, is it a matter of vision or just ego? If he negotiates from a position of strength, is that a sign of business acumen or just a confident attitude? The responses to those inquiries frequently hinge more on the speaker than the actual words spoken. And this is where the comparison game kicks in. Baker Mayfield burst onto the scene with undeniable confidence, and soon enough, the commercials started rolling in. When Johnny Manziel made waves with his partying, teams continued to take a chance on his potential. Eli Manning's choice of destination was portrayed as a clever play in the family strategy game. John Elway even used baseball to manipulate his draft position and received accolades for recognizing his worth. When Shedeur walks with confidence in his worth, why does that create a stir? That's the core of the problem. I want to talk straight to those fans who are still undecided. This isn't about asserting that every draft slide is due to discrimination. There are numerous reasons why prospects can slip down the rankings. Opinions differ. While schemes play a crucial role, it's important to consider when the most vocal criticisms focus more on personality than actual performance. This raises questions about the perspective being applied. Shedeur's tape reveals some serious grit. He stood in crumbling pockets and unleashed precision throws. He took hits from shaky offensive lines and kept fighting on. He took programs to new heights and put teams that usually flew under the radar into the national spotlight. That's real influence. However, the discussion shifted to how one presents themselves and their overall attitude. That shows the stakes go beyond just the game. Picture the internal meetings happening now. A scout claims he possesses franchise traits. Another voice chimes in, but what about the attention? Someone else follows up, are we prepared for that spotlight? Just like that, the focus shifts from skills to appearances, and those appearances can subtly sway decisions. But check this out. The NFL is all about performance. Victory eliminates uncertainty. The production drowns out the narrative. Once Shedeur starts delivering standout performances, the vibe will definitely change. The confidence that some might call excessive will transform into a commanding presence. The brand awareness that some see as a distraction will be hailed as a key to marketability. This is a familiar storyline. Confidence can be a divisive topic, especially when it hasn't been proven at the professional level. Once it's validated, it turns into something iconic. Success is what sets apart arrogance from aura. And if you're sure that draft slide turns into lasting motivation, top-tier athletes never overlook any hint of disrespect. They recall each headline, every ranking, and all those anonymous quotes. That memory doesn't hold them back. It hones their edge. A generational shift is underway. Young players have a grasp on media that earlier generations simply didn't have. They shape the stories on social media platforms. They establish direct connections with their audience. Shedeur is riding that wave. He doesn't depend only on conventional sources to shape his persona. That level of independence can be intimidating to traditional systems that favor stricter control over communication. However, the league can't take a step back. The contemporary quarterback goes beyond just being a play caller. He's a brand, a spokesperson, and a content powerhouse. And Shedeur embodies that era flawlessly. All right, listen up. I've got a prediction for you, and it's a daring one. In just 3 seasons, we'll reflect on this discussion and see that the league did more than just assess a prospect. A new archetype was put to the test, a privileged black quarterback. A quarterback who stands tall under pressure. A quarterback strides into the room with the confidence of someone who knows he belongs there. If he pulls off the win, that archetype sets the standard. Keep this moment in mind. Keep in mind the phrase, too confident. If Shedeur starts lighting up those scoreboards, those comments are going to look pretty bad in hindsight. The story will shift from being careful to being joyful, from doubt to respect. The question was never about his ability to throw the football. The big question was if the league was prepared for the type of quarterback he embodies. And that's why this is significant beyond just a single draft position. It's all about growth and change. It's all about how perception aligns with performance. It's all about realizing that empowerment isn't the same as arrogance. I'm going to ask you again. Did the NFL underestimate the player or misinterpret the situation? If that's the case, we're on the brink of seeing a real-time correction unfold. And if you're a fan witnessing this drama, get ready because the most captivating tales in sports aren't about easy climbs. It's all about transforming uncertainty into power.
Shedeur Sanders possesses the skill, he's got the stage, and now he's carrying that chip on his shoulder. That combo, that's lethal. If you're eager to catch all the action as it develops, smash that subscribe button because this saga is just getting started.